I never imagined anyone would dare hit me in public, least of all the woman my brother planned to marry. But I'll never forget that crack of her palm against my face, sharp enough to slice through 150 conversations at once. The room didn't just go quiet, it froze. Breath caught in people's throats. Eyes widened. Whispers spread like fire licking dry grass, unstoppable and hungry. Some slaps never leave bruises you can see, but they echo for years. That's the lesson I carried from that night. I'd arrived early at the engagement party, determined everything would be perfect. We'd rented the biggest hall in town, 150 guests, white linens glowing under string lights, golden chargers that caught every flicker of candlelight. I'd checked every detail twice, because my brother is my only sibling, and I loved him enough to swallow my pride, to make peace no matter what she did. Or so I thought. I was prepared to forgive almost anything. Almost. My name is Elise. I'm 32 years old, an event planner by trade, someone who prides herself on keeping things calm and elegant, even when people test me. Funny how one moment can split a life into before and after. But let me be clear, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't fight her back. I simply stood there and let the silence work. I let her embarrassment eat her alive while I watched, cool and still. Because I've learned that revenge doesn't always require shouting or violence. Sometimes it's enough to hold your ground, gather your proof, and let the truth reveal itself like a slow-burning fuse. I never wanted to ruin my brother's engagement. I never wanted to humiliate anyone. But if she was going to turn me into the villain in my own family, I would not go quietly. This is the story of the night she slapped me in front of 150 people, and how I served her exactly what she deserved. I always thought our family was close. Not perfect, but close. My brother Matt is 3 years younger than me. We fought like hell as kids, but by adulthood, we were best friends. When he asked me to help plan his engagement party, I jumped in immediately. I had no idea I was setting myself up to be the villain in someone else's love story. I met Jenna, his fiancée, a year earlier. She was beautiful, clever, and charismatic in that practiced way that makes you wonder what's underneath. My parents loved her immediately. She told them they were like the family she never had. She'd always hug me tightly when we saw each other, a little too long, calling me sister before she'd really earned it. It all seemed innocent at first, but even during planning calls, little cracks appeared. She'd veto ideas abruptly. Elise, that's tacky. You'd understand if you had taste. We don't want people thinking we're cheap. I let most of it slide. She was excited, I told myself. Nervous brides can be controlling. But there was a tone in her voice that made it clear she wasn't just managing an event. She was managing me. My mother noticed, too. Once, after Jenna hung up on a planning call, my mom said, "She's intense. Be patient." That night at the party, I watched Jenna glide through the room in a tight emerald gown, greeting guests like royalty. She was magnetic. The laughter around her was forced but polite. People loved her, or wanted to. I kept busy checking place cards, smoothing tablecloths, coordinating servers. When Jenna caught my eye, she waved me over with a bright, fake smile. "Elise, don't fuss so much. You look like the help," she joked, laughing alone at her words. A few nearby guests turned away, pretending they hadn't heard. I swallowed it. I smiled back, because family first. Later, while greeting our parents at the door, she interrupted our hug to insert herself between us. She pressed her cheek to my mother's and purred, "I hope you'll think of me as your real daughter soon." I remember standing there, watching my mom's eyes dart to mine, uncertain. That was the first warning bell I chose to ignore. It's funny what you'll forgive for family, but that night was going to test the limits of what forgiveness really meant for me. I tried to avoid making a scene, but Jenna seemed determined to provoke one. After greeting guests, I went to check with the caterer about timing. Jenna followed, grabbing my elbow just hard enough to make me stop. Elise, I told you I didn't want the pasta bar. It's low class. Don't you ever listen? Her voice was low but cold. I met her gaze evenly. Jenna, I said quietly, we confirmed the menu 2 weeks ago. You approved it. She sniffed, eyes flicking away, already dismissing me. I don't want to fight with you on my night, she said with a martyr's sigh. Just try not to embarrass Matt, okay? That stung. I felt heat rise in my face, but I didn't answer. I walked away instead. By the time dinner was served, the mood had turned stiff. Jenna kept glancing at me with a tight, bright smile that didn't reach her eyes. She laughed too loudly at the best man's jokes. When Matt came over to check on me, she trailed behind, hand on his arm, staking her claim. You okay? Matt asked, eyes worried. I'm fine, I lied. Jenna cut in. She's fine, Matt. Don't fuss. She's just stressed because she's not used to big events. I felt the insult like a pinprick. I let it slide. Until the mic incident. Dessert had just been cleared. I was coordinating with the DJ about the playlist. That's when I noticed Jenna standing by the microphone, gesturing for silence. She hadn't told anyone she planned a speech. I watched guests exchange confused looks. Matt seemed surprised, but tried to smile. Thank you all for coming, she began, voice syrupy. I just wanted to say how lucky I am to be joining this family. Polite applause. Then she added, looking right at me, and to my future sister, I know you have strong opinions, but tonight isn't about you. It's about celebrating love. I hope you can remember that. The air went icy. A few guests gasped softly. My fingers curled into fists at my sides. I waited for Matt to say something. He looked mortified, but he didn't speak. Neither did I, because at that moment, I realized Jenna wasn't going to stop. She didn't want peace. She wanted to humiliate me. And I decided, quietly, inwardly, that I wasn't going to let her win. It should have ended there. I could have swallowed the insult. I had planned to. But Jenna wanted more. After her little speech, she handed the mic back to the DJ and drifted over to me. She smiled like we were old friends, that brittle pageant smile. Don't sulk, she said softly enough that only I could hear. You're making people uncomfortable. I stared at her, my voice low and steady. I'm not the one who made a public speech about me. Her smile didn't waver, but her eyes sharpened. You're so dramatic, she hissed. Can you just behave for one night? I didn't flinch. You're the one making this ugly, Jenna. Something in her face broke then. That tight control slipped. She lifted her hand slowly, as though even she wasn't sure she'd do it. And then, crack. Her palm met my cheek with a sharp, humiliating smack. It wasn't hard enough to injure me. It didn't need to be. The sound alone silenced the entire hall. I remember the way people froze mid-conversation, the way a server dropped a fork onto a plate with a loud clang, the way 150 pairs of eyes swung to us. I remember the shocked intake of breath, my brother's horrified shout, "Jenna!" But most of all, I remember how still I felt. I didn't raise a hand to my cheek. I didn't stagger back. I didn't even blink. I just looked at her, and I watched the realization hit her, the way her face went from fury to panic as the weight of what she'd done settled on her shoulders. People began to murmur. Some guests looked away, embarrassed to have witnessed it. Others stared openly. Matt grabbed her arm, trying to pull her back. She shook him off and hissed something I couldn't hear. She was breathing hard, her chest heaving. I stayed silent, because I knew there was nothing I could say that would make her look worse than she already did. So I just let everyone see it. Her rage, her loss of control, and me standing there, calm, my cheek stinging, but my pride intact. That was the moment the party turned. And so did everything else. The silence after the slap wasn't just uncomfortable, it was suffocating. It lasted long enough for everyone to register what they'd seen. Jenna's hand slowly lowered, trembling. Her eyes darted around the room as if she were searching for someone to back her up, to say she was justified. But no one spoke. I didn't move. My cheek was hot, the skin tingling, but I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of touching it. I kept my hands by my sides and simply held her gaze until she looked away. Matt was the first to react. He grabbed Jenna's arm again, more forcefully this time. "What the hell was that?" he hissed, his voice strained. She pulled back, but her voice cracked. "She's ruining everything, Matt. She's been undermining me for months. She's so condescending." He shook his head, glancing at me in horror. "Jesus, Jenna, you hit her, in front of everyone." Guests were whispering now, clustered in small groups. Some pretended to check their phones, others just watched openly, like they couldn't turn away. Our parents pushed through the crowd. My mother's face was pale. "Elise," she whispered, "are you okay?" I finally blinked. I turned to her and nodded. "I'm fine." She touched my arm like she didn't quite know how to comfort me. My father stared at Jenna. His voice was so cold it made her flinch. "You need to apologize." Jenna's mouth worked soundlessly before she spat. "She deserved it. She's been controlling everything." That sent another ripple through the guests. My brother's eyes went dark. "Apologize? Now?" She glared at him. "Or what?" And in that moment, I knew exactly who she was. Not the sweet, smiling future sister-in-law, but someone who needed control so badly she'd throw away her own dignity to keep it. The DJ, bless him, tried to salvage the mood. He turned the music up a little, gently calling for people to head to the bar. A few guests obeyed, grateful for an excuse to leave the drama behind, but the damage was done. Jenna turned on her heel and stormed out of the hall, her dress swishing behind her like an accusation. Matt hesitated, torn. He looked at me, his eyes pleading. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I shook my head. "Go after her." He did, and just like that, the party split in two. Half the guests left early, embarrassed or scandalized. The other half stayed, determined to see how it would all play out. I stood by the dessert table, hands steady, breathing slow. People approached me cautiously. Some offered sympathy. Others gave me wary glances like I might snap next. I smiled at them all because I was done being the problem. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to wait because if Jenna wanted a war, I was ready to fight it. But I'd fight it my way. After the slap, the party limped along for another hour, but the air was poisoned. People kept their distance. Conversations hushed. I made myself useful, helping the staff clear dishes, checking that the bar didn't run dry. Anything to keep my hands busy. Inside, though, I was cold and clear, because I knew this wasn't over. Matt and Jenna didn't come back inside. Eventually, my father told the guests they'd retired early because Jenna was unwell. But everyone knew. No one was fooled. When the last of the guests drifted out into the cool night, I lingered behind. I helped the staff collect the linens, gathered discarded wine glasses, thanked the DJ. I wanted to make sure no one could say I'd abandoned my responsibilities. After all, appearances matter. Once the hall was empty, I sat down alone in the dim light and let myself feel the sting on my cheek. I didn't cry. I just thought about every snide comment, about every controlling email, about the forced sisterly hugs, about that mic in her hand, stealing the room, humiliating me on purpose. And I realized Jenna hadn't lost control when she slapped me. She'd revealed it. That was her mistake. That was the moment she gave me permission to fight back. The next morning, my brother texted me. "We need to talk, please." I agreed. We met at our parents' house, neutral ground. He looked wrecked, eyes bloodshot, clothes rumpled. He opened with an apology so broken it nearly made me pity him. "I don't know what to do," he said. "She's refusing to say sorry. She says you deserved it. She's telling me you've been trying to sabotage her this whole time." I listened without interrupting. When he was done, I spoke softly. "Matt, I've been saving every message she sent me. Every text where she insults me, changes plans last minute, calls me incompetent. I didn't want to show you. I thought she'd calm down." He blinked. "You saved them?" I nodded. "And there's more," I continued. "She didn't just call me controlling. She tried to tell the florist to cancel without telling me. She threatened the DJ with a bad review unless he changed the playlist to what she wanted. I didn't want to embarrass you by making a big deal of it. He sagged in his chair. Matt, I said gently, I want you to see who she is, not who you want her to be. He didn't respond right away, but I could see the doubt, the fear, the love he felt for her fighting with the realization of what she'd done. I let him sit in it, because the truth doesn't need shouting, it just needs patience. Later that week, my parents called a family dinner. Jenna didn't know I'd be there. She came in smiling, acting like nothing had happened. She even tried to hug my mom, but my father's voice was granite. Sit down. She faltered, glancing at Matt, who looked miserable. I waited until everyone was silent. Then I took out my phone. Before we start, I said calmly, I think there are a few things we need to hear. I played back a series of voice notes Jenna had left me, not realizing I'd kept them. Her insulting my taste, threatening vendors, calling my brother so easy to manipulate. Her face turned white. She tried to interrupt, but I raised my hand. Let's finish, I said coolly. When it ended, no one spoke. My mother covered her mouth. My father stared at Jenna like she was a stranger. Matt's eyes filled with tears. That was my revenge. Not screaming, not slapping back, but making sure everyone saw her the way I did. Jenna tried to recover her composure after the recordings played. She looked at my parents, eyes wide and glossy with false tears. That's not fair, she whispered. She's twisting everything. You don't understand what she's been like to me. She's been trying to push me out from the beginning. Her voice cracked for effect, but no one moved to comfort her. Matt wiped a hand over his face like he was trying to wake himself up from a bad dream. Jenna, he croaked, voice hoarse, I heard your voice. I heard you call me easy to manipulate. She lunged toward him, grabbing his arm. That was a joke, Matt. I was stressed about the party. She's making you turn on me. He pulled away. My father's voice cut through the pleading. You hit my daughter in front of 150 people? Jenna's gaze flicked to me. For the first time since I'd met her, I saw real fear there. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I simply met her eyes and waited. Because this wasn't about humiliation for me. It was about truth. She started to cry then, ugly, heaving sobs that filled the room like smoke. I did everything for this family. I tried so hard. She made it impossible. She's jealous of me. I sat still. My mother reached over and laid a gentle hand on mine. I think you should go, Jenna, my father said quietly. She whipped her head toward him. You're choosing her over me? He didn't answer. Matt's shoulders slumped. Please, he whispered, just go. She let out a choked scream and stormed from the room. The front door slammed so hard it rattled the picture frames. Silence fell again. No one looked at me for a long moment. Then my father cleared his throat. Elise, he said gruffly, I'm sorry. I shook my head. You don't have to apologize. But my mother did anyway, through tears. I didn't want to see it, she said. You were right. You handled it better than any of us. Matt couldn't even speak. He just sat there, head in his hands, and I felt a tiny flare of pity. Not for Jenna, but for my brother, who'd let himself be blinded. I didn't say, I told you so. I just sat there, holding my mother's hand while the family I loved tried to piece together what had just happened. Because that was my revenge. Not screaming, not making her look small, just letting her reveal herself. In the days that followed, the engagement was called off quietly. There was no big announcement, just a slow trickle of information as Matt made the calls himself. He didn't blame me. He didn't blame anyone but himself. He told me he should have seen it, that he was sorry for putting me in that position. I didn't say much, I just hugged him, because there was nothing else to say. Jenna tried to reach out once, a single text. I'm sorry you think I'm a monster. I wish you'd given me a chance. I didn't reply. Forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. At the next family gathering, there was a hole where her place had been. My mother kept glancing at it, then at me. She finally whispered, "Thank you for handling it with grace." I nodded, because that was always the point. I hadn't wanted revenge in the classic sense. I didn't want a scream or slap her back. I wanted the truth out in the open. And once it was, there was no need for anything else. The family healed slowly. Matt took time alone. My parents checked in on me more often, and I went back to work. I took on bigger events, managed more staff, learned to delegate better. Because I'd learned something important. People will test your boundaries. Some will cross them with a smile, and you can't control what they do, only how you respond. I think about that night more than I want to admit. The hall lit with fairy lights, the hush after the slap, the way 150 people watched me decide who I was going to be. It would have been easy to scream, to fight, to prove her right about me, but I didn't, because some slaps echo longer than the sound they make. I wanted mine to echo with silence, with dignity, with truth. I've learned that real revenge doesn't always look like payback. Sometimes it's just refusing to be dragged down to someone else's level. It's letting them show the world exactly who they are. I served her the truth, calmly, quietly, completely, and in the end, that was enough. If you've ever faced someone who tried to humiliate you in public, tell me your story in the comments. I read everyone. And if you want more true stories of quiet revenge and family drama, make sure to subscribe. Sometimes the calmest voice holds the sharpest truth.